Hey superstar, it's Alex from Stage Light Communications, and let's start with a really obvious statement. The best leaders know how to run meetings that other people actually want to go to. In the last video in this series, I talked about the foundational principles of facilitation, running meetings, so make sure you go in and check that out. But today, we're all about how you can capture and keep people's attention with a good meeting opener, a good wrap up, and some good energy management in between those two things. If you've ever taken a yoga class, you know that the instructors are really big on letting go of everything else that happened that day, releasing all the preoccupations of the real world and just being present in the moment. That's because it's really hard to be intentional about what you're doing if you're distracted by a dozen other things. And similarly, in a work meeting, we want to almost create this bubble outside of time and space where people can be fully focused on each other and on the task at hand. And here is how you can do that. It starts with how you open the meeting. We're looking for something that signals to everybody, okay, we're here in this place at this time together for this purpose. Let's get into it. Something that engages them actively in what's about to happen. Depending on your team culture, it can be an emotional check-in. It can be something creative, like based on how you're feeling today, what kind of snack food would you be? It can also be just something simple, like which llama are you today and why check-in grid. There's not always time for a full icebreaker, but at a minimum, I always try to get everyone to name what they're hoping to get out of the meeting. Maybe there's a specific outcome that they're looking for, information that they need, or a decision they're hoping to get made. This activity primes them to start working towards that goal, and it also lets the facilitator, chair, leader, whatever you want to say, gauge whether everyone is getting what they need out of that meeting. Around this time, you'll also want to clarify expectations, especially if the group is new to working together. So, do you expect everyone to put away their phones and leave them out of sight for the duration of the meeting? Are they expected to participate actively or listen politely? What's the vibe of this meeting? Is it a sensitive topic requiring careful communication or a no-holds-barred brainstorming session? Clarify what you expect of them and what they expect of you and of each other. So you've opened the meeting and created this pocket of time and space to accomplish particular goals. Then you want to complete that process with a satisfying closer. Here's how you complete this process at the end of the meeting. You don't just want things to fizzle out. That can leave people feeling unsettled, unsatisfying, which is demotivating and can cause them to lose focus. Instead, you want to make sure that you bring things full circle by wrapping up in a way that highlights the accomplishments and progress. I like to wrap up with a summary of key decisions and key outcomes that have been achieved, and projects or action items that are identified as priorities. This helps focus everyone's mind on what's been achieved and what's still to come. Then I ask everyone to share their personal next step. And when I say step, I mean step. I don't mean project. I don't mean 5-year plan. I mean literal next action that they can take to move things forward. Something that can be done in 30 minutes or less, preferably by the end of the day so you don't lose momentum. One simple, clearly defined step leads to the next step, leads to the next, leads to the next, and so on. A poorly defined, overly large project can cause overwhelm and lead to paralysis. Next step. Then you thank everybody and say goodbye so it's clear that the meeting is over and everyone can go back to doing their own thing, feeling like something has been accomplished. So that's how we create this container, so to speak, for the meeting, a sense of structure so that when it begins, people can switch into the group mind that the meeting requires, and when it ends, they can switch back into doing their thing as autonomous individuals. It feels complete, it feels satisfying, it feels purposeful. And quick note about terminology here. Group mind is not the same thing as group think. So group think is a state of mind in which creativity and individual responsibility, disagreement are discouraged. Group mind, at least the way us improv nerds think about it, is a state of intense connection and creativity where everybody is vibing together and working towards the same ends, but there is still space made for disagreement and for challenging the status quo. So what happens in between the beginning and the end? Well, you need to keep people's attention throughout the whole meeting, and the best way to do that is to keep them actively involved. If there are going to be presentations, make sure they're interspersed with lots of opportunities for people to ask questions, give feedback, and discuss the ideas with each other. When you engage someone directly, that refocuses their attention. So do this at regular intervals so that you can bring people back when their attention starts to wander, which it will. Just make sure that those initial interactions are simple and manageable, and you can work your way up in complexity as you go. A little while ago, I signed up for this workshop. It was an international group. For me, it was 8 o'clock on a Monday morning. So I logged into Zoom. I had not had my tea yet. My hair wasn't done. Within 5 minutes, they're sending me into a breakout group with a bunch of total strangers, which is an awful thing to do to an introvert on a Monday morning before she's been caffeinated. And they're asking us to discuss these really complex and sensitive topics with each other. Anyway, I couldn't handle it. I logged off and I caught that one on the replay, which is not an ideal situation. But you know what? We're not machines, and we need to design our interactions in ways that make the most of our flawed human brains. So I'm not sorry. I'm actually going to do a whole installment of this series on engaging introverts and extroverts in meetings, but for now, let's leave it here. So create a clear structure for your meeting with a defined beginning, defined end, and make sure you're managing energy and attention throughout with regular opportunities for people to interact in meaningful ways. So let us know in the comments which meeting practices are your favorite. What's worked well for you? What hasn't? Do you have any questions you'd like me to answer in future videos? If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. And if you would like to chat with our team about one-on-one or group support for your workplace to help make your meetings better, get in touch. We're here to help. Bye.